Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pearls of Wisdom. We have a dark moon again, and it's incredible how fast that goes. So we are going now with the real star constellation. You can see that the sun and moon conjunction is now in Scorpio. And we have a very interesting constellation here when I look at the world horoscope, because we have everything on the IC at the bottom, more or less at the root. So we have also this 1.5 square here, and this goes up here to Uranus. And the retrograde Uranus in Aries is still kind of releasing things from the past, because retrograde in this way, what we are doing right now, what is happening in humanity, we have to go back and back and back and back and further back until we have rooted out the last negative part. I'm walking a lot of barefoot every morning now with my dogs, and there is this mimosa. And this mimosa, this is a plant you might know, a very important one also in the flower essences, that when you come close, it closes the leaves, but it has very sharp thorns. So I'm kind of pulling them out every day, and I'm not getting anywhere. They're coming everywhere, and there must be a root, kind of a network under the grass that is just bring it up again and again and again. And this is the comparison of kind of what we have here right now. And when this is all by the root now, it means that we have to focus on these things now that are coming up. And I think in private lives, it very often comes up with dreams, or it comes up that we meet somebody out of the blue, and we have maybe even visions about what is happening, that somebody triggers memories within us, or not only somebody but some place. So for example, when you travel, it's funny, my mother was telling that all the time, and she was very funny in that way. She said she's completely not psychic, she's totally down to earth, want to have nothing to do with all that new age stuff. But when she was traveling, and she often went into the Far East, like to not Middle East, Russia, Poland, these countries, and that was the time when it was still behind the Iron Curtain. And she was always pulled there, and she said, I was walking through Prague, and I had known what was around the corner. So these are the things that are bringing up past life memories. And this is what will happen to many people in the moment when you go somewhere, even a place that you maybe live, and you come to a road that you've never been before, and suddenly you have that kind of feeling, that even if you physically, mentally, from this lifetime, you don't. So this is what we have. A lot of past life memories are coming up for us to dig out those roots very deep down. And this is what happened in the microcosmos, is the same what is happening in the macrocosmos. Now, all this very deep rooted evil has to be pulled out. And there is no place on the planet for those beings anymore who carry this kind of energy. You have to consider that Mother Gaia, that our planetary being, is a living being too. We could not live on a planet that is dead, because our trees, our flowers, our everything in nature is alive. And this is all connected with the life of Mother Earth, of Mother Gaia, or Pachamama, whatever name you want to use. And it is important that we acknowledge that. And if you have a chance, I know in the Northern Hemisphere is winter, and despite global warming, it's very cold. They have, I got a picture from Germany that the cars are standing on the freeway covered with snow, battery empty, kind of the new trend of the electro vehicles. Because of the cold, it didn't work anymore. So, and here it's kind of the opposite. Here we could say there is some global warming. Where I live in the moment, it's too warm for this time of year. So see, it's just what happens. Everything is a cycle, right? And when you go back hundreds and thousands of years, you always find the up and downs and colder and warmer periods, ice ages and mini ice ages and warmer periods. So don't pay attention much to all that. Blah, blah. Now, coming back here, that's also about the root. Go and research. Go and research if you have some feelings, if you have some images of something that are important to you. Go and look up what you can find and then compare it with your own memory, because we all know that history, his story that they want to tell us, is not what really happened in the past. And I have experienced that when I did regression therapy many years ago with clients, that a lot of stuff came up that didn't really make sense. And I already then I figured out that there must be a very, very high evolved society before us, and not just Neanderthals or people running around with bow and arrow. There was completely something else. And I can imagine that when you have images like that, at the first time things like that come up, that you are maybe a bit confused, because it goes against the narrative of what we are supposed to believe. But this is exactly what happened. And with Mars here too, it will be very powerful. And it has something to do with the male energy on the planet. And I said before that by purpose that his history, that we have to dig down this line to find out the truth. And then what we what many of you probably know is what has to be balanced in the moment anyway is the female part, is the female energy. And this is also quite visible. We have here Venus, it's just in the first degree of Libra, now in opposition to Jupiter, that is also retrograde in Aries. So where we do have to expand our consciousness, where we have to expand our, the consciousness itself, is into the female part of ourselves, to figure out how we can balance. Because again, you have to do it. There's nobody's doing it for you. Of course, there are people out there fighting and organizing and doing things and helping the disclosure. But if you are not doing your part too, you will be left behind, because we have to change our own frequency, our own energy field, to move on into that higher timeline. And everybody has to do the work. Now imagine again that when we have a certain frequency here, and we are slowly moving up into a higher frequency. It's like when I tune a radio from one station to another. And if you stay with the old station and not move forward through this sound that is maybe disharmony and disturbing into that new channel, you will stay there. You can say, okay, I don't like to move my frequency because it is very uncomfortable to be in between, which I agree. But if you want to go to the next level, to the next energy station, we can say, then you need to move forward, and you need to move through all this disturbance. And that is, again, one thing that is happening now with Sun and Moon. The dark moon here is that all that stuff is coming to the surface now, so we can proceed it. And with karma, I mentioned before that most religion also, when it comes to karma, the teaching today is not accurate what it really is. Because if we have experiences in past life, then this is not judged between lives when we are out of the body as this is something that you have to pay for. But we have to recognize it, and we have to look at it. You might heard that what you resist persists, what you look at disappears. And that's exactly the point. Once you see that you have been part of this and part of that, and maybe done this and that, or I was really shocked when I first, in a regression, I did a lot of work like that in the 80s, that I found out that in one lifetime I've been a son of a very rich whatever guy, and we were chasing slaves. They had a chance to get free if they escape us. And I was a young boy, I don't know, maybe late teenager still. We were on horses, and they had whatever, an hour ahead, and we were chasing them. And I remember I had a spear, and the people, they would throw the spear at them, and I did throw a spear, and I injured a guy, and he went down, and I got off my horse and go and look, and he looked into my eyes. And that's the moment where I realized that this is a human being as I am too, because we were brainwashed into that these are not human beings. These are just lower whatever beings. And I think this was just the angle that I had. I didn't get more out of this lifetime. And then I had a lot of problem to digest that. But I can tell from my practice and for the work I did, it was so important that I saw that for myself. So I won't judge others, because we all of us have such things in the past. That's the part of being here on this planet, of going through all the kind of experience. That was also a very powerful wake-up call at that time. And we have very powerful wake-up calls, one after the other. And this is very personal. I cannot tell you what is going to happen. Of course, we could see something in a personal horoscope, what is coming up. But in general, it's just like all the old, those roots, that root work below that is not completely cleared yet, that are still shoots coming up on thorns that are going to hurt. That's what we have to eliminate. And we have to be very thorough. Otherwise, when it's just a little bit root left, it will come back. And you can just imagine it like this, that this is what is happening. So this 2 1.5 square, the 1.5 square is about the mistake. And I said that before, that mistake actually means I missed to take something. So when people say you have this mistake or that mistake, this is not accurate, because you cannot have a mistake, because the word itself says you missed to take it. That's exactly the same in German and in other languages too, that you have that this is missing. So what the mistake is that we have to do it right. We have, maybe in this lifetime, you see some images, like for example, what I just told you, that story about looking into the eye of this guy and realize that he was a human like I am too. And this changed me. And once you see that, when you look into the eye of whatever it is, just look at the center of it. It can be even an animal, it can be a human, it can be a situation. Look at it carefully. And once you understand the lesson, you are free to move on. This is like in school. Once you understand the lesson, you can move on, then you can graduate. And that's it. This is not a system of failure and punishment. This is what they want us to believe. And this is very important, that we have a chance to move beyond this paradigm, to move beyond this belief, and let go of this not being good enough, not being worthy, and all that kind of stuff that is said that we should, that we are. And once we let that go, we can move forward much faster, and we can process what happened. Because remember, I said about the fine tuning of a radio. When we go back to a certain time, the consciousness level was much lower. Now we come up higher and higher and higher and higher with the consciousness level, which will help people to see things from a different perspective. So for example, again, my sample that I told you is that I would never ever do that again. It was such a shock. I would never ever hurt somebody else in that way, because I can see that it's a human like I am too. So that gives me compassion. That gives me the understanding that no matter what color, what race, whatever a person is, what age, or female, male, that they all are from the same source, and that the life I see in their eyes is the same life that I can see in mine. In that way, we are all connected to the same divine source, no matter how you name your God or your deities, whatever, it doesn't matter. So what is happening with all these wars in the going on now in the moment, this is the part of rooting out evil and bring it to the surface. And it has to be, because as I said, these roots have to be eliminated, all of them. And this very negative energy cannot exist anymore in a higher frequency. So there is this kind of time in between where everything comes to the surface till we are there when it's gone. And we have to face it, because at least all of those who had many lifetimes already on the planet, we have been part of the past. And please don't have the illusion that you've been always just on the good side and the positive side. Nobody has. That was one of the big shock. And I had also, to give you another sample, that in the regression therapy that I did at that time, most people walked out when they saw themselves as a perpetrator and not a victim anymore. As long as you are a victim, you can still blame others. And I remember that I had that time too, and I did that, that I had somebody in a past life that killed me, and in this lifetime we met again, we had fight and blah blah blah. So it's your mistake because you killed me in a past life. But again, if I would go back further and further and further, maybe I killed him before. So anyway, it's a long story. At the point is that we move higher in our consciousness level to the point when we don't blame anymore, when we look at things and acknowledge it and say, okay, I've been part of this too. Now I'm not anymore. I have moved on. I have moved on in a higher consciousness. But you can do something like, I'm sorry, I apologize. I don't like, I'm sorry, I'm not this sorry. I apologize that in this time, because I didn't know better, or I was trained to do that, whatever it is. And I tell you, many of us have been in a very difficult position sometimes in lives before. We say the deeper the shadow, the brighter the light. So when the sun is shining at noon, the shadow is the darkest. So one person also said that to me one day, you know, where there is a lot of light, there's a lot of shadow too. And at that time, the shadow was good and bad. The transition into a higher consciousness is also that the shadow is not good and bad anymore. It's simple yin and yang. It's simple positive and negative. And positive is when I'm acting, when I'm active, when I'm doing something. Negative is when I'm relaxing. And when we once bring this polarity again, without judging, into a harmony, that's what is Venus about here, and going now through Libra, when we can balance that and find it within ourselves to expand into that balance, then we can move on forward, and the scratchy noises will stop, because we have reached that stage where the higher consciousness is, or what people call 5D. And this is just simply a shift of consciousness. That's it. It was always here. It is always here. It is just we have to reach it. It's like a movie. When you have a CD with a movie or whatever today we have, the whole movie is already there. You just haven't watched it yet. And when you have a game, you know, I remember so well, but my son was totally into this Mario game. And I tried it once or more time too. If you have this Mario game, you play that Mario game, right? but you have many options how to play it. And all the options that are possible within the Mario game are already on the CD. So when you incarnate, this kind of, you jump into such a CD and you put it in the computer, you activate it. That's the matrix where we are. And you have these positive and negative options every time you make a decision. Now it's up to you how you make the decision. So you can be sad, or you can be angry that you did something bad in the past, or you just can look at it as, okay, I did it. I cannot change it. That's what happened at that time. But the interesting thing is that it will change, because again, that's another challenge. Time does not exist. The moment I change myself now, my past changes too. But I don't want to go into this. This is very complicated to explain. So we have here these two half squares. Here we have the shock experience, and that is that we need to heal the pain, that things will come up, that we suddenly see clearly that we have maybe phobias, or again, we dislike different people. And, you know, we have to send light and love and positive energy now, for example, to Israel, to Gaza, to other places that is war. We have to send love. That does not mean you have to love the war, but you send light so that those people who are ready to, like, the antennas are out there for light so they can receive it. And the more you send out the light, the love, the understanding, the compassion, the more people can pick it up, the more energy they will have, because they need us to send the light, to help them to go through all this difficult experience. Many there have assignment for a sacrifice. And again, life is eternal. Life does not end with the body. Please do not forget that. The moment you leave the body is just like the moment you change clothes. There is one moment, everybody of us will take that last breath and go forward. But that does not mean that you cease to exist. You just step out of this body, of this whole 4D experience, and you go in another realm. You look back, you look again, what have you understood in this lifetime, and what is still coming up. And I bet you will want to come back. Even all those who said, I don't want to come back, I'm never coming back. When we have an earth to build up a complete new paradigm, to move into this golden age, the golden age that allows all the creativity, the free energy, everything that, like, for example, I give you an example that per week you maybe need to work to contribute to the whole, maybe 10 hours a week, and then society can function. And I bet you want to come back, because you have a lot of ideas and a lot of things that you want to do. You want maybe to explore, you want to travel, you want to create things. That will be all possible. We are not human beings to suffer, but we have to go through this period of disharmony from a long time of slavery on that planet and abuse, to move into that what we would call the golden age. And this is now the time that we work on it. And Uranus here also with the quincunx, that is a divorce aspect when we go around of this side, 180-degree and 150-degree aspect from that side. So Uranus, when you go inside from Aries to start anew, then you will have all the options to understand the transition once you face things and don't run away anymore. And this is, again, you know, that we talk about the sheep and the lions very often. So I actually just found a very nice picture yesterday that I sent out in my network. Or let me just quickly look at that. I'm gonna post it in the blog. I'm gonna put it out there. It's a picture of the movie of Lion King, probably. Here it is. Okay, post the truth. Let them hate you, unfriend you, block you, and mock you. We are here to feed the lions and not entertain the sheep. And I think that's maybe just the perfect thing that I want to end this reading with. Remember, we are the lions and not the sheep that are led to the slaughterhouse. Stop it. Get out of those rows. Bring in the courage and don't walk the path of a coward. Also, Saturn here in Aquarius gives us that same energy here. Well, anyway, that's the main message that I have for you today. Discover your courage. Go into that consciousness where you know whatever you do, when you're courageous and more work forward, you call on the forces, the cosmic forces, and they will support you in all ways. Okay, that's it. I hope you like it and give me a thumbs up. We will meet again with my next reading. I will do a next card reading next weekend again. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.